You spent roughly 13 years in school. You learned the year the Magna Carta was signed, how to find the area of a triangle and the parts of a cell. And in all that time, almost nobody sat you down and explained the one system you'd spend your entire adult life inside: money. That's not an accident, and it's not a conspiracy either. Schools were built to produce good employees, not wealthy owners, and the two need very different educations. So most people walk into adulthood knowing calculus they'll never use and nothing about the taxes, debt, and compounding that will quietly decide whether their life is comfortable or a constant quiet emergency. Today, I'm giving you the 7 money rules school skipped. Not theory, not motivation, the actual mechanics that the financially comfortable understand and everyone else learns the hard way, usually too late. Rule number 4 is the one that costs the average person more money than any other, and almost nobody sees it happening. Quick note before we start: none of this requires a finance degree, and none of it is complicated on purpose. It only feels complicated because it was never explained to you in plain language. That's the whole gap. The wealthy aren't smarter than you, they just got taught, often at the dinner table, the handful of rules we're about to cover. So consider this the class you should have had at 17. Let's get into it. Rule 1. Keep more than you make. Rule 1. Your wealth is decided by what you keep, not what you make. This sounds obvious until you realize almost everyone lives as if the opposite were true. We're trained to measure people by income, the salary, the title, the paycheck, so we assume more coming in automatically means more wealth. It doesn't. Wealth is not your income. Wealth is the gap between what comes in and what goes out, kept and put to work over time. A person making $60,000 who keeps 15 of it is building wealth. A person making $200,000 who keeps nothing is just a high-income spender with a nicer version of the same empty bank account. School never taught this because school measured you by performance, by output, by the grade you earned. So we grow up thinking earning more is the whole game. But the math of wealth doesn't care what you earned. It only tracks what you manage to hold on to and grow. This is why lottery winners go broke and why plenty of quiet, modest earners retire rich. One group confused income with wealth. The other understood the difference. The move: stop asking only, how do I make more? And start asking just as often, what am I actually keeping? Because a raise you spend is a number that never touched your life, and a gap you protect is the only thing that ever becomes real wealth. Rule 2. Taxes are your biggest bill. Rule 2. Taxes are the largest expense of your life, so learn how they work. Think about your biggest costs and you'll probably picture rent or a car or food. But for most working people, the single biggest expense of their entire life by far is taxes. You'll pay more in taxes over your lifetime than you'll pay for your home. And here's the strange part. School made you memorize the water cycle, but never spent 1 hour explaining the thing that takes the biggest slice of every dollar you'll ever earn. Here's the mechanism nobody explains. Not all income is taxed the same. Money you earn from a job, a paycheck, is taxed at the highest rates and taxed before you even see it. Money that comes from owning things, investments, assets, a business, is often taxed far less and later on your terms. The system quietly rewards owners and taxes workers. That's not a secret the rich are hiding. It's written in plain law. It's just never taught. Because the people who write the curriculum are workers teaching future workers. You don't need to become an accountant. You need to stop being naive. The wealthy structure their lives to earn more from ownership and less from pure labor, not to cheat, but because the rules openly favor it. The person who understands this keeps tens of thousands more over a lifetime than the identical person who never bothered to learn. The move. This year, learn the basics of how your income is actually taxed and learn the legal accounts that reduce it, the retirement accounts, the tax-advantaged ones. Every dollar you shelter is a dollar you keep, and it's the highest paying homework you'll ever do. Rule 3. Idle cash is losing money. Rule 3. Doing nothing with your money is not safe because inflation is taxing it every year. We're taught that the responsible thing to do with money is to save it, keep it safe, put it in the bank where nothing can happen to it. And there's a grain of truth, you do need a cash cushion. But nobody taught you the hidden cost. Every year, prices rise. That's inflation, and it means the same pile of cash buys a little less each year, quietly, automatically, whether you touch it or not. Money sitting still isn't holding its value, it's slowly leaking it. Here's the mechanism. If your money sits in an account earning almost nothing while prices rise a few percent a year, you are getting poorer in real terms even though the number in the account never dropped. You feel safe because the number didn't fall. But what that number can actually buy is shrinking the whole time. It's a tax you never see on any statement, and over a few decades it can quietly cut the real value of idle cash roughly in half. This is why the wealthy don't let large amounts of money sit idle. They keep a sensible cushion, and they put the rest into things that at least keep pace with inflation and ideally beat it: ownership, investments, assets that grow. Not because they're reckless, but because they understand that safe cash is silently losing a race nobody told you was being run. The move. Keep your emergency cushion, that part is real. But don't let large sums sit idle for years thinking they're safe. Money that isn't at least keeping pace with inflation is quietly melting. Put the excess to work. Rule 4. Debt cuts both ways. Rule 4, the one that costs people the most. Debt is a tool, and most people only ever feel the sharp end. Nobody taught you the actual mechanics of debt, so most people learn it by getting cut. Here's the truth school skipped. There are two completely different kinds of debt, and confusing them ruins people. There's debt that drains you, high-interest debt on things that lose value, credit cards, financing a depreciating car, buying things you can't afford to impress people, where the interest quietly works against you every single day. And there's debt that can build, low interest, carefully used borrowing against things that produce income or grow in value, where the math can actually work in your favor. Here's the mechanism nobody explains. Interest is a force, and it always runs in one direction. Either it's compounding against you, or you're using it to compound in your favor. On a credit card at high interest, the debt grows on itself while you sleep. The exact same brutal math is compounding wealth, just pointed at your throat. The average person carries a balance for years, paying more in interest than the thing ever cost, and never realizes they're funding someone else's fortune with their own paycheck. The wealthy respect debt the way you'd respect a power tool. They avoid the kind that drains ruthlessly, and they use the kind that builds carefully, and they never confuse the two. School lumped it all together as debt is bad, or ignored it entirely and left you to find out the difference the expensive way. The move. Separate your debts into two piles right now, the ones charging you high interest on things that don't grow, and everything else. Attack the first pile like your financial life depends on it, because it quietly does. That's the sharp edge that's been cutting you. Rule 5. Your income is a skill. Rule 5. Your income isn't a fixed fact about you, it's a skill you can raise. School trained you to accept an assigned value. You got the grade you got. You were told what a good job pays, and most people carry that mindset into adulthood, quietly believing their income is just a number that happens to them, set by their boss, their industry, their luck. So they wait, hope for the annual raise, and treat their earning power as fixed. It isn't. What the market pays you is a direct reflection of how valuable and how rare your skills are, and both of those you can change. Here's the mechanism. You get paid in proportion to the problems you can solve and how few other people can solve them. Raise either one, become better at something valuable, or become one of the few who can do it, and your income rises with it, sometimes dramatically. The person stuck at the same pay for a decade usually isn't unlucky, they simply stopped becoming more valuable, so the market stopped paying them more. That's not cruelty, it's just the machine doing what it does. And here's the part school actively worked against. In school, being well-rounded, a little good at everything, was rewarded. In the real economy, being deeply good at one valuable thing pays far more than being mildly good at many. Specialization is where the money is. The generalist gets a paycheck, the specialist names their price. The move. Pick one skill the market actually pays for and get deliberately uncomfortably better at it this year. Your income is not a fact, it's a scoreboard, and you're allowed to change your score. Rule 6. Defend against ruin. Rule 6. Protect your foundation because one disaster can undo a decade of progress. This is the least exciting rule, which is exactly why it's ignored, and exactly why it wrecks people. School never taught risk. It taught you to chase the right answer, not to protect against the wrong one. So most people build slowly for years and leave the whole thing completely exposed to a single bad event, a job loss, a medical emergency, an accident that can erase everything in a month. Here's the mechanism. Wealth is built slowly and destroyed quickly. It can take 10 years of discipline to build a real cushion and one uninsured disaster to vaporize it. The wealthy understand something the anxious saver doesn't. The goal isn't just to grow money, it's to make sure no single event can take you back to zero. That's what an emergency fund is really for. That's what the boring insurances are for, the ones that cover the catastrophes, not the tiny stuff. You're not buying them because you expect disaster. You're buying them so that disaster can't end the game. And notice the psychology. Because it's why people skip it. Protection feels like wasted money right up until the moment it's the only thing standing between you and ruin. The person who saved money by skipping the cushion and the coverage looks smart for years, and then one bad week erases a decade. The move: build the boring defenses first, a real emergency fund, coverage against the disasters that could actually wipe you out. Offense builds wealth. Defense is what lets you keep it. You need both, and school taught you neither. Rule 7. Time beats intensity. Rule 7. Money rewards time more than intensity. So the earlier and longer you play, the less you have to do. School ran on deadlines. Cram for the test, get the grade, move on. It trained your brain to think in short, intense bursts, but money runs on the exact opposite logic. It rewards small, consistent actions stretched over a very long time, far more than it rewards heroic short-term effort. This is compounding, and it's the single most powerful money idea there is, and it got maybe one confusing math lesson if you were lucky. Here's the mechanism, and it genuinely feels unfair once you see it. Money that grows doesn't grow in a straight line, it grows on itself, and then that growth grows too. Which means the early years look boring and almost pointless, and the later years become almost absurd. The person who starts small at 25 and simply doesn't stop will very often end up with more than the person who starts serious at 40 and hustles twice as hard, because time did the heavy lifting the second person can never buy back. You cannot cram compounding. There is no all-nighter for it. The only inputs are how early you start and how long you refuse to interrupt it. And that reframes the whole thing. You don't need to be brilliant or make a fortune overnight. You need to start, stay consistent, and let boring, patient time do what no amount of last-minute effort ever could. The move: start now, even small, especially if it feels too small to matter, and then protect it and leave it alone for as long as you possibly can. In money, the tortoise doesn't just win. The tortoise wins by a margin that looks impossible until you understand the math. The turn. Teach yourself the class. So step back and look at the 7 together, because a single theme runs through all of them. Keep more than you make, understand your taxes, don't let cash sit and rot, respect the 2 edges of debt, raise your own income, defend against ruin, let time do the work. Not one of those is complicated, not one required a special talent or a degree. Every one of them is simple, learnable, and completely absent from 13 years of formal education. That's not a knock on you. You were never taught. It's an invitation, because the gap between the financially comfortable and everyone else is mostly just this handful of rules, quietly known by one group and quietly hidden from the other. And here's the good news buried in that. If the difference was talent or luck, you'd be stuck. But it's education, the self-taught kind, and that's entirely in your control. The wealthy learned these rules somewhere, from a parent, a mentor, a book, a video like this one. Nobody is born knowing them, which means the only thing standing between where you are and financial competence is a decision to finally learn the class you never got. So here's your move, and don't try to master all 7 this week. That's how people freeze and do nothing. Pick the one you understood the least, the taxes, the inflation, the debt math, whichever one exposed a blind spot, and spend one evening actually learning it until it's simple. Then, next week, the next one. That's how a real financial education gets built, one rule at a time, on your own. And if you want the rest of that education, the stuff school skipped, broken down in plain language, subscribe to Rich Person Habits, because every week I take one more thing the wealthy understand, and everyone else learns too late. And I make it simple. No hype, no jargon, just how it actually works. I'll see you in the next